Welcome to What Brought You Here Today, an interview-style mental health podcast that focuses on real experiences and how we navigate and move through them. The guests on this show provide personal and professional insight at times and come from all walks of life. Not all of the guests work in the mental health field, and they've all chosen to be brave and vulnerable while sharing parts of their story with you. Please keep your own mental health and well-being in mind while listening. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What Brought You Here Today. I am your host, Ryan, and I'm fortunate enough to be joined with Anne Kenya. We met through the human therapist community, which if you've been following along on the podcast, you know I've had the owners of that community on, Andrea and Cass, and now I've been fortunate to have a few other members from the community. So thank you for taking time out of your day to join me. I'm happy you're here. Why don't you go ahead and give the listeners just an introduction about yourself?
So my name is Anne Kenya Dubuisson. I'm a clinician for the past, let's say, 3 years, also a school counselor. One thing I want people to know about me, I'm a proud daughter of immigrant, Haitian and Dominican immigrant. My niche when it comes to therapy is like immigrant veterans and people with disability as well. And also, thank you to let me be a guest in your podcast.
Of course. How long have you been a school counselor for?
I've been a school counselor for the past 7 years.
Okay.
For the
And you
past
start,
7 And from there, during COVID, I decided to go back to get an advanced certificate in mental health. And when I graduated, I'm like, okay, I started something, I have to finish it. And I went straight to mental health from there. So technically, I'm both at the same time, challenging, adjusting, because you got to do both of them. But I've embraced both of them, though. Yeah.
Mhm. Do you work with a particular age range in school?
High school student.
Oh,
That's my niche as well.
you're in it.
Oh, what? It's interesting because when I tell people, "Oh, high school kids, they're great," they're looking at me like, "What?" Yes, they are. It's all about the connection, right? And maybe one thing about me, I want to be forever young. So why not? Just let me stay with a high school student, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. What do you think I love working with high school students. I think
Mhm.
they are hilarious and funny, and they are living in a very, very difficult world. What do you think is the most challenging and rewarding parts of that work?
Wow. I think like this challenging is like for them to accept you because some high school student, they don't have the foundation at home. They don't have the support from the community. So when they see someone to provide the support, they don't know how react to that. So you have to set a foundation with them to say, it's okay for somebody to give you grace. It's okay to ask for help. And the more reward is like when they embrace all that and when they see you like walking down the street and they're like, oh my God, Miss in Kenya, it's me. Remember? And you're like, hey, it just, yeah, I think that's the most reward be able to accept the assistance and the help, especially from the community I reside. We're not supposed to ask for assistance. We don't trust people. So it's okay. For them to embrace you, that's one of the things, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's really special when you can make that connection,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And really, really be a trusted person
Mhm.
for them. Do you mind if we talk a little bit about like your personal experience and kind of your background
Yeah,
as
of course.
as a daughter of of immigrants, and kind of how has coming into a job in the mental health field,
Mhm.
what has that experience been like for you? And maybe, there's you're kind of told not to really believe in the system sometimes.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm a daughter of Haitian and Dominican immigrant. Mental health was not a discussion. You know, Growing up, everything was like in a silver platter for me, meaning that, life is good. Your child, follow what it will tell you, do this, do that, right? But when I decided to be in the field, like even like in school counseling and mental health, I realized that, my parents never taught me this. It's interesting. And when I started to have client and interesting, most of my clients are Haitian descent. And for
Okay.
them to discuss certain things that happen in my own culture, I was shocked. I was very shocked. Each session, I would go for a walk and sometimes I would cry. I said, but daddy never told me that. Mommy never told me that. And I could share that. I think one session was so heavy. And I called my mom and I said, but I thought Haitian and Dominican, we don't do that. And she said, I'm sorry. Your father wanted you to have the best experience about our country. He didn't want you to know the dark side. And I was like, what? And from there, I had to relearn about my culture. And I think I'm glad I relearned a lot of it because now I'm embracing it more. I have a better understanding to the point, yeah, my niche was like, I want to help immigrant, but now I have to go deeper. Like I have to go to the roots of my culture now to have better understanding of the trauma that we went through. So yeah, that was the biggest challenge for me. The relearning is I embrace it and I'm still relearning and enjoy it. But there are days I'm like, that can be, you know? But yeah, so
Do you
that's one.
experience any maybe pushback or resistance from your family because you are a mental health clinician?
Um, at first, my mom she pushed back a lot. She was like, why? Why you in this bill? Why you want to know? We have to keep certain things for ourselves. And I said, but talking is good though. Nothing wrong. You could just talk and listen. You just got to set the boundaries. So I had to explain to her certain things. Now she's more open because now she's telling me stuff from her past and I'm like, interesting. That's not what you told me when I was younger. And she said, yeah, I know, but this is what it is now. So I guess she got more comfortable. To be honest, I wish, my father and my grandmother were there so I could have certain conversation with them. But the fact they passed, they don't want to really taught me about my culture a lot. Other family member, they start to get used to it with the generation. The younger generation is more open. But my mom generation, if I say I'm a therapist, they're like, I say, oh, life is good. Don't worry about it. We good. Make sure you give yourself grades, give yourself validation. So I just throw it real quick for them. So,
Sneak
like,
it in there.
yeah, just give it slowly,
Sprinkle,
you
yeah,
know.
sprinkle it in.
Yes. The pushback, I think, until now, doesn't matter who you encounter, you know. You could tell
Yeah.
somebody, "Oh, I'm a school counselor," and it comes to, "Oh, my child needs to go to high school, but I want this is it," like, and say, "Oh, but also I do therapy on the side." They're like, "Huh? Why?" I said, and sometimes you want to educate the person, but sometimes you have to learn, okay, when they're ready,
Great.
and you just have a conversation with them. But yeah, so. Mhm.
I imagine it's been maybe challenging to manage like the transference and the counter transference that might occur, right?
Mhm.
Especially learning more about your own culture and kind of where you came from. How do you do that?
I know the way at first, like my first year, it was a lot of that. But also I learned that that's their story, that's not mine, right? And I separate it. And from there, and that's why I said I wish, my grandma and my dad was there so I could did the family went through this? Did the family went through that, right? But my mom was able to remind me everybody's story is different,
Mhm.
right? Don't make it like so general. Yes, you have the Haitian and Dominican blood, but that doesn't mean we have to hold the same trauma or the same situation. Your childhood was great, you know? And yes, we have family members who went through those things, but as a culture, we have to put it under the rug, kind of, right? And give them this this support, like indirectly. When I say indirectly, or we'll pray for them,
Right.
or if we need money, we'll give them money on the side. They don't need to know. That's all we like. We know what you're going through, but we cannot discuss it.
Okay.
And from there, by her sharing that, I'm like, okay, you know. So, like I said, it's a process, right? But now I separate everything. I remember my childhood, how my childhood was, and I said, how can I compare my childhood with the client that I have? Because that's different. But yeah, the relearning is it's a process, and I'm enjoying it.
Good. Was there a particular moment in your life where you knew you were gonna be a therapist?
To be honest, no. To be honest, no. It's interesting. Like I've been in social service, for what for the past decade. Like I started with the LGBT, HIV/AIDS population, and after I went to veterans, and after I did homeless services, and from homeless services I went to school counseling. But after that, I guess like I said before, like during COVID, I got bored, so I said, let me go back to school, and I guess it just clicked when I started to do therapy, and I'm like, "Oh, I guess that's for me now." I could definitely empower my community and help them in their process. And yeah, but to be honest, no. As a young age, I don't even think I wanted to be a counselor or a therapist. The only thing I know I wanted to be as a young age was like a nuclear physician. Because I watched a
Very different.
documentary. I know. I just watched a documentary, like, and I saw something nuclear. I said, "Oh, I wanna do that."
Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, why not? And look, now I'm in under mental health field, so I don't know.
It it happened. It
Yeah.
happened. I'm looking here at some of the notes from, what I put together, but it says that you're a mental health consultant for Serenity for Mothers. What is that?
So Saturday Mother is like a program for women who went through, like, postpartum, even, like, from there, just to have them like a safe space for them, share resources for them as well. So from it just launched a couple months ago. So one Naisha William, who's the CEO of the founder, asked me if I want to be like the mental health coach in there. And I said, why not?
Mhm.
And especially in our community, like women of color community, a lot of women go through the postpartum. So, and also pregnancy could be hard for those women as well. And the rate of, pregnancy and death mortality is high at the same time. So to have like resources for those women. So yeah, it's impactful. And, I enjoy most of them. Most of the women who come is just it's a safe space for them. Pregnancy is different for everybody. Right. One thing I tell people is that enjoy your pregnancy, enjoy every moment of it, and don't compare your journey to nobody because the woman's body is different for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's newer work.
Yeah.
For you. Yeah.
It's new. It's a new thing.
Challenging in a different way.
Yeah, because, I believe in connection a lot. When the women discuss, what they went through with postpartum, me, I never had that. I have two kids and my pregnancy was great. And for them to talk, but at least I'm honest with them, and I even told the CEO, hey, I never went through postpartum. This is new for me and I'm learning. But also I could still connect with those women, give them the resources, give them the tool, you know, to keep themselves grounded. to remind themselves, you're a mother, you got this. Being a mother is the greatest gift ever, the greatest superpower. So,
Truly,
yeah.
truly. We're
Mhm.
all superheroes. Parents are superheroes,
Yes,
especially.
definitely.
Right.
Definitely. Mhm.
You mentioned that you're a fan of Carl Rogers and the person-centered approach. So
Mhm.
for listeners who are listening, maybe not familiar with a lot of theoretical approaches, how would
Mhm.
you describe the person-centered approach?
Oh, wow. Me, I listen and I rephrase and paraphrase. And from there, the client, usually I don't call them the client, I call them the member of the crew. So the member of the
Mm.
crew. So by me just paraphrasing or paraphrasing and they just listen and they're like, oh. So it's like us having a conversation and at the same time you find the solution for whatever we were discussing or even find some option. I'm a big fan of that. As you know, in therapy, you're not supposed to give advice, but I think person center in a way, you just paraphrase it and you just do them a smile and they're like, what are you saying? I said, no, what you think I'm thinking? So if, I think when it comes to person centered, that's why I'm so comfortable with it. It's just the talk and, the reframing and paraphrasing and just have a conversation and at least to have the member of the crew to be able like, oh, I get it. Maybe I should not do this, but now I could use this for this situation instead of this. And I said, yeah, and of course I'm going to add a little bit, CBT if they want to, a couple EMDR. If I have to do EMDR, it all depends on the member of the crew as well. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's,
think it's the human approach, right?
yeah.
We're
Mhm.
focusing on understanding the personality and building the
Mhm.
relationship and really
Mhm.
more focused on the individual as a person.
Yes.
Hence why it's called person-centered approach or therapy. But I think sometimes is it's always fun to hear other people's interpretation of it and kind of how they utilize it in their session, like the
Mhm.
paraphrasing and
Yeah.
giving back what they're saying in a different way.
So they could really think, oh, I didn't see it that way. I didn't think it was, and as the same way as you should give them validation and show like empathy at the same time, That's just me. That's the way I use it because the member from my crew, they're going through so much. And most of them, they want that validation. They want to be heard before I start to go deeper, whatever they need to go deeper. I always start with the person center. And after I'm like, okay, I'll build a report like that. And after I'll just go, okay, should I go to solution focus? Should I go to EMDR? It all depends, and some of them, you do the person center, and after 5 session, they're like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm out." Okay, it was a pleasure. Yeah,
Good work. Good work for you. Good job.
I know. But sometimes they'll come back though. When they come back, you're just like, "What did I do?" And my supervisor always said, "No, when they come back, that doesn't mean you did something wrong. Something they just want to come back just to make sure they're still on the right path. If we'll probably just learn new skills." And I'm like, oh, okay. At first, I'll be like, oh my God, I did something. That's why they came back. It didn't work, But after I realized like therapy is a journey, it has no endless time. It's timeless for some people. And I'm like, okay, you know, someone could leave when, let's say, in February 7 and come back in May. And you're like, oh, okay, and they're doing good though. It's just like some of them just want to tell you their progress too
Mhm.
and say, oh, I just need 2 sessions to tell you about myself right now. Oh, why not? Go ahead. I'm listening. I'm going to paraphrase though. Go ahead.
You-
I'm listening.
I think that speaks volumes to the work though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're coming back because they felt supported and seen and validated. And you
Uh-huh.
provide them with a perspective,
Uh-huh.
but through their own words.
Yeah.
right? Just kind of shifting how they can view their own thoughts, which I think is one of the ultimate compliments of being a therapist.
Yes. Yes.
You know, trusting
Definitely.
trusting you enough to come back months later to fill you in on their life.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I'm
Um,
grateful for that as well.
yeah. I do want to ask, and I want to be also mindful of kind of like your boundaries and your experience. But as a woman
Mhm.
of color in this field that has historically been dominated by white men, like
Mhm.
how how do you think your experience or kind of just being a woman of color too in this field has really shaped your work and who you are?
I guess when I started in the therapy field, I think like a lot of women of color starting at the same time. So that mean like COVID time, you know, most of us are coming out like we here because we have, I think the, person of color community lost a lot of people during COVID. And I think that was a time for all of us to be like, hey, we here to support our community at the same time. And from there, I think, other organization really noticed, okay, we need to address that right now. I think COVID did open the door for a lot of for us. And, not even, African American or Caribbean people, but even like Asian people, Arabic people. I think that was the time. This is a collective thing right now.
Right.
We're losing people and we don't know where this is coming from, but it's collective. I don't think I ever in the field, like you said, like a white man dominant. I think when I started, it's like all of us just came out and even women in general, because now woman therapists and counselor, we hear coaching, we're just here. And
Yeah.
if you're on social media, you don't really see that much male therapists engaging. It's just people like, hold on, what's going on now? We here.
Yeah, we're shifting it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
We're shifting
Definitely.
it.
Yeah.
Do you think, we're coming up on 4 years removed from the start of the pandemic?
Uh-huh.
And I think I live in Minneapolis where George Floyd and a lot of the unrest kind
Mhm.
of happened and started, and it opened up all of these conversations. And I will acknowledge, my privilege as a white woman, that I will never fully understand that experience. But
Mhm.
do you think that now, coming up on 4 years of being out of this like really dark time, that people are still wanting to process things, or are maybe people kind of packing some things up? And maybe that's a way bigger question.
Well, we're still in this journey to
Yeah.
unpack and to relearn. And we want people from other culture to understand us.
Mhm.
Like you said, and I'm gonna acknowledge that. Thank you to say, look, as a white woman, like it don't affect me the same way it would affect you, but it's all connected in a way though. And that's why people gotta take the time, okay, you know, that happened to this community. Oh, it's not for me. In a way, it is because it's all collective. It's very collective. We just got take the time to relearn, to research, right? But that's if the person want to do it, right? If you don't
Yeah.
want to do it, that's fine. That's fine. But to be open minded, if I come to you and say, hey, could you listen to this? Tell me what you think about this, right? Let's have a conversation because I know you could tell your friends about this. So we could just change that narrative. We could learn everything together, but we're still unpacking a lot. Some people, they might be tired. They said, no change is not going to happen. Yeah, but we still have to do it, We have to because we are a collective. That's all I know. Doesn't matter where we from. Yeah.
Do you find yourself advocating for that for a lot of people. It's okay to unpack it and it's okay to talk about it. We're not going to pressure you,
Mhm.
but I want to be also as a professional and like personally an advocate in that it's okay to do that.
Yeah, I want people to unpack it because it's heavy. It's
Yeah.
very heavy, you know? Like I said before, a perfect example, yes, my parents are Haitian Dominican. They had the good life, but some of us from my culture went through a lot of stuff, a lot. And it's okay for them to release all that. And I'm not going to judge them. You know, I said, unpack it. Please unpack it. Let's find the way for you to cope with it, to also to give yourself grace and to remind you like the past do not define you. It will never define you, you know, and just go from there. I think it's very important. You know, as a therapist, you're like the bridge for the person from A to Z.
Yeah.
And I always tell my crew, listen, I'm just the passenger. You're driving, but if they have a bumpy road, I'd be like, can we stop now
Mhm.
and breathe?
Yeah.
Why are we jumping on this bridge right now? What we got to go over? And from there to be like, oh, let's slow down a little. Yeah. Yeah. Unpacking is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The bumpy parts are the hardest, right? We don't like being
Yeah.
uncomfortable or maybe
Yeah.
feeling
Mhm.
unsettled or unsafe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think during that time, I think it's important as a clinician, as a therapist, or coach, whatever, title you give yourself, to give yourself grace too, to prioritize your self care and your mental health as well, to do anything that'll bring you a little comfort, after each session. I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think that brings me to the next question. What do you want people to know about mental health? What is your shout from the rooftop? I want everyone to know this.
Mental health is important, the same way of your physical health. Because we have to go to the doctor every year for a full physical. Why not once a year? Even though you don't have a therapist, just go to somebody and just talk. If you don't want to go to a therapist, just do something for you. I think mental health is very important. It don't make you less of a person. And also mental health is not like something like it has to be like a worst case. When I say worst case, it's like you have like schizophrenia, or you just like talking, you got multiple personality. No, it's something could be so simple. It's just to give yourself grace, to be at peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thing about mental health. The same way you go to the doctor, find your therapist, or just someone to talk to, anybody, and just to be at ease. Yeah.
What do you think is a good entry point if they're not ready to talk to someone yet? What would be kind of a good pre-step to that?
Please stop for that. If they're not ready to talk to someone, at least just to write their thoughts. Or even like one thing like I started to do like years ago. If everybody got an iPhone, this is not a plug for iPhone right now. No. But you could use like the voice memo
Hmm.
and you could just record yourself, and while doing a walk, if you had like a rough day, just talk to it, right? And if you had a good day, just talk to it as well. And one day say, oh, let me just go listen to it. And from there, you could see like the growth and just say, oh my God, when that's what happened to me that day. I remember, and this is what I feel with it. And I think you could just delete them. And I think that's like a good way if people don't want to talk to someone. I don't know, in my culture, like a lot of people, the elderly people, they talk by themselves a lot. And, in
Okay.
therapy, mental health, they would say, oh my God, this is a diagnosis. And now, and somebody said, no, I am not unconsulted right now, and I'm
Mhm.
like, okay. And I saw my grandmother doing that. And after she talked to herself, and I'm like, Granny, you good? She's, yeah. And then 20 minutes later, she's fine. Like she's smiling, and I'm like, interesting. Yeah, the voice memo on the iPhone is not a plug for iPhone, but
Yeah. Then they did, if you have the newest update, they did just add the journal app,
yeah, I noticed. I didn't
which,
try.
yeah, it was just one more app. But I think that's really helpful. Again, not a plug for Apple and
Mhm.
technology in general, but
Mhm.
I'm an advocate of, handwriting in the journal. But
Mhm.
I think you're right that even just getting the thoughts out in general is very helpful,
Yeah, yes, it
whether
is.
it's to yourself, to your technology, in a
Mhm.
notebook, to
Mhm.
someone. Just get them out. Make room.
Yeah, it's all about release and unpack.
Mhm. Yeah. If you weren't a therapist
Mhm.
or in the mental health field and nobody knew what you did, what would you do with your life?
Oh, that's a good question. If I was not a therapist, mm,
There are no parameters. You can do whatever you want and nobody knows.
definitely travel the world.
Yeah.
I would travel the world and just go there and just be a light to people. It's still connected to therapy though. Just go there and just be a safe space for someone. Yeah, I think definitely like travel and go places that people just need like a hug or something and just be
Yeah.
a light, you know? Definitely. Yeah. Mhm. Now I think about it, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. You get the perks of traveling. Everyone gets the perks of the light and the support.
Yeah, definitely. It's not therapy though. I'm just there like, what's it say?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, I think there are a lot of people, some of us are just like true to the core helpers,
Yeah. Mhm.
like we
Yeah.
can go travel the world and still spread some of that the feelings of safety and support
Mhm. Yeah.
without it
But
having to be.
thank you to ask me this question though. I never thought of that though. Never. Now you're
Yes.
gonna go make me go for a walk and be like,
Okay.
okay, let me go think. And I'll probably send you a quick email like, this is what it is now. So let me know. We could talk about it more, you know?
We're
So
going to
I
bring it full circle and you're going to come back and say nuclear physician, nuclear physicist.
don't think it's a good idea now. I don't think
No?
so. There's too much going on in the world for me to do anything with nuclear. No.
Yeah.
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 No.
That also feels like a heavy job.
No, it is. It is. No, it's okay. When I was younger, that's different. It looked nice. The documentary, like, oh, look at normal. Like, you know? But now I don't think it's a good idea. I don't want some call from nobody. I thought you want to do this. Nope. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I just want to be a therapist. I just want to give the light to people. I want to travel. That's it.
Perfect. Perfect. Speaking of giving the light to people, where can people find you?
Everybody could find me on Instagram. My Instagram is akd.therapist. Also, if you search my name and Kenya Dubuisson on Psychology Today and Open Path, I'm there. So my social media is not booming yet. I'm getting there slowly and surely. Yeah.
Okay. And licensed in New York or practicing in New
Well,
York?
I'm practicing in New York.
It's been such a pleasure to have you on. I'm so grateful for you and for sharing your experience and being open
Mhm.
to having this conversation.
Yeah.
Is there any final thoughts that you want to leave the listeners with today?
Final thought is embrace your path. Doesn't matter where you go, just embrace it, appreciate it, always give yourself grace. And also, it's one life to live and carpe diem at the same time.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to learn more or follow either of us on social media, you can find more information in the show notes. Thanks for your support and listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.